Coin traders, what is going on? What a day that just closed for Cardano ADA, ADA on that ticker. And gonna just take a quick little moment, do a little short analysis, and try something different here for the channel. Just short little kind of TA updates. And if you do like this type of update and kind of content, definitely drop a note in the comment sections below. And then also hit the thumbs up, like, and subscribe if you have not done so just yet. So yeah, let's go ahead and jump right into Cardano. So on the day, we closed up over 10%. Over 11, about 11.24. At the peak, we were up over 16%. So definitely a nice big bullish day. And especially if we zoom in a little bit farther on this overall daily pattern, one of the things I kind of want to highlight and mirror is that just before this move, we were actually looking at several days of kind of not necessarily inside bar trading, but more or less sideways. And effectively, that's what we were looking at here about a couple weeks or so, about a week and a half, before finally seeing the next big leg to the upside, similar to what we saw in this instance. Now, the difference is, and this is kind of basically another fractal type pattern forming up as well, but turning off the 12 and 26 patterns, or exponential moving averages, excuse me, looking at just the 50. So big point of support on this move. So after we had a pullback, period of sideways before the rally. So after this big consolidation rally, period of sideways, next big rally, breaking resistance on this 50-period EMA. So since this is the pattern that we're looking at, we could be looking at another upside before a potential pullback. So especially with a lot of resistance points up overhead, we could get the next leg to the upside, especially with the FOMC announcement here coming in. But then after that, it wouldn't be necessarily impossible to set that lower high and see that next retracement. Obviously, no calls for that as a prediction, but we always have to be mindful of similar type patterns and setups, especially when they do interact with such relevant lines like we've seen. Now, pulling up the volume on the daily, we did see a little bit of a pullback on the bullish volume, or essentially all volume on ADA here. But one thing notable for this nice big bullish candle is a little bit of a rally and a little bit more of that size of magnitude for more upside. And that shows a lot more of that strength to the upside as well. And so that does kind of mirror what we saw in this instance as well. So after coming in at this first initial trend high, pulling back to the 50, we did see a little bit of a taper off in volume here, especially bull volume, followed by the next two nice bullish days, which we did see a little bit of inflated volume as well, before finally tapering off to that pullback. So it really is going to come into the shorter time frames, and we are going to hop down into those first. So I want to actually start us off on this 1 hour chart. So a couple patterns to point out. We had a very nice flag type pattern here, which actually kind of looks like it was shaping up to be a little bit more of that wedge, but ultimately did have a very nice bullish breakout. So as we can see, if we look from the bottom up to the point of our top, we can set our target based on the point of breakout. So effectively, it's never perfect, but we know it's pretty close. So we were looking at 37.5 cents, pretty much not too far from where this main point of consolidation is occurring, right kind of in the heart line for the top trend high that we did just set, which was coming in at 38.7 cents. But so now if we actually look at this pattern a little bit closer, one of the things we do need to follow and make sure that we see is a Fibonacci retracement setting up on this below, or actually above rather, the 38.2. So as long as we do maintain this, that does set up for a nice flag type pattern to then see the next explosive move to the upside. But if we do in fact lose the 38.2, it does signal pretty much a lot longer consolidation pattern is going to be forming, similar to like what we saw basically back since this initial move. But since we did have our peak come in and our peak bull volume as well, also starting to see a little bit of a tapering off for bear and sell pressure. So it does seem a little bit more likely like we could experience a nice flag type pattern here, which also would interact nicely with these exponential moving averages, ideally providing support as well for this pattern before potentially running off and seeing the next leg to the upside. So now if we talk about support targets as well on the downside, we're going to be looking at right around 36.70, and this pretty much goes all the way up until the support point right now of 36.84. So looking all the way to the left, big point of closing resistance, so a very nice zone where we saw in between price highs and close come in. And so in the current setup as well, very nice point of support where the lower level was actually testing some wicks, and we actually are still maintaining closing support on top of the upper level, forming that very nice strong zone. Looking below that, though, is going to have support coming in right about 35.73 down to a low point and a low target down to 35.39. So we had a very big zone of resistance. We also had our first initial touch of resistance, and then on the current, on this explosive move, big point of resistance as well. So because it's been so resistive, we do like to see that because that typically does mean a lot more support on the downside. So if we do mirror that up to a Fibonacci retracement, for example, from this low down at 33 cents to our current trend high, then what we'd be looking at is this zone sitting nicely right in between the 50% and the 61.8% retracement. So we know that this is an extremely nice level and zone to find a lot longer support for ADA, especially if we do continue to see a decrease in a bullish volume. Switching over to the 15-minute really quick before we wrap up, because we are just wanting to look at this nice little pattern that we do have set up right now. So this is what we're going to be watching for the break. And obviously, if we do break bearish, that's what's going to key to trigger some of the lower supports that we just talked about in the 35-cent level. But ideally, one of the things the bulls would love to do is maintain prices on top of these exponential moving averages, providing the price action to the upside as that path of least resistance. I don't necessarily think we'll get a lot of action based on now and when we do see the FOMC announcement coming in. So the best case scenario or an extremely strong scenario would be to actually consolidate further along this overall trend line, maintaining exponential and price action support. And then if we do get bearish announcement out of the FOMC meeting and breaking the support, that's a pretty clear confirmation that we are going to be experiencing a little bit of that retracement and prices slipping back down to test some of the lower supports. So yeah, trying to keep it short and sweet for you all on this nice little update on Cardano ADA. Definitely let me know what you think of this format down in the comment sections below. Thank you for sticking with me to the end. Do appreciate hitting the thumbs up, like, and subscribe button if you have not done so just yet. As always, appreciate all the continuous love and support. Does mean so much. Stay safe, take care everyone, and I'll catch you back in the next video.